what made you decide to enter into active politics after having been a political staffer for Mr. Aldag?
For sure. Thanks for asking. So I'm a father of 3 young girls, live in Langley City, been in this community my whole life, almost my whole life. And, I saw what was happening with Donald Trump. I saw what was happening with threats to our sovereignty and the tariffs. And frankly, I thought this was the time that people need to get involved to lead in our community. And we need good people to step up, which is why I got involved.
It's an interesting riding, Cloverdale Langley City. It cannot really be called as a safe seat for anybody because it has exchanged hands in the last in the last few elections. Like 2019, Conservatives win by a 3% margin. 2021, Liberals win it back by a 4% margin. 2024, the by-election that we had in December, yes, Tamara Jansen won with a 30% margin roughly. But what is it that you're hearing at the doorsteps right now? Because this particular riding is not a given for anybody. That's what it seems like, at least in the last 10 years.
You're right. Absolutely. I helped out with John's 2019 campaign, his 2021 campaign. And you're right. This riding it's not a safe seat for anybody. And what we're hearing at the doors, though, is a lot of people, they're concerned about what they're seeing with threats to our sovereignty, tariffs. We obviously have tomorrow where there might be more tariffs imposed. And this is what people are here asking about. They're not necessarily asking about what happened in the past with the riding. They're very concerned about what's happening with the future. And the response has actually been really positive, and more discussions about international trade and what we need to do as a country than I, to be frank, ever had heard before, whether it was in 19 and 21. Like the issues people talk about is different than it was the past few years.
But aren't a lot of the concerns about the future about, we are so vulnerable to all the things that Donald Trump is saying and all this trade war situation because of the weakness of the Canadian economy in and of itself. The things that have happened in the past, or the lack of it, are the reasons why we could potentially be facing a problem in the future. So could we really discount the issues of the last decade just because now we've got this threat from Donald Trump, which maybe in after some negotiations may not really stay because the domestic compulsions of the American politics in and of itself might just make Donald Trump backtrack on some of the things that he's been saying. So my point is, can we really discount what happened over the last 10 years with the Liberal government and solely focus on this one overarching threat from Donald Trump?
Well, I think what we need to focus on is what we have done as a community and for our economy, and whether it's building more affordable homes, and how we deal with the threat of Donald Trump, and how we not just go forward, but look at what we need to do differently from the past. Whether what I've heard at the doors is people talking about international trade and how we have to diversify and open up to other markets, which is not necessarily something I've heard before. A year ago, that's not necessarily something I heard from local people in Cloverdale, Langley City. Is something that they wanted the federal government to really focus on, right? And with Donald Trump and with politics, it is always going to change, right? And that's why we have to come up, and that's why we have somebody like Mark Carney, frankly, who has led Canada previously through a crisis. He helped lead also England through a crisis when he was leading the Bank of England under, I would say, 2 conservative governments he's worked for. So that's why I'm confident with Mark Carney. He's the right man for the right time for us, because he's been through economic crises before. And he is helped, and that's why we've started to lay out our plans, whether it's focusing on building more affordable homes, improving our manufacturing ability, and looking at other trade markets to work with.
So you put your hand up to represent the riding of Cloverdale Langley City, and if we specifically focus on that particular area, and we know that there is a lot of overlaps with the infrastructure requirements where a lot of it has to be done by the city, a lot of it has to be done by the province. What, as a resident of that riding, and now as somebody who wants to represent that riding federally, what would your focus be to get built in Cloverdale Langley City while being a federal representative?
It's a great question about the infrastructure needs, and we've had a lot of changes in our riding. Like, the community of Cloverdale Langley City is very diverse. It's very diverse, whether you're talking to residents in Panorama, Sullivan, Cloverdale, Clayton, or Langley City. What I want to focus on is what are the infrastructure needs of our community to help build it up. Working with our municipalities, which actually the previous government has done with the Housing Accelerator Fund planned, right? That's something that was a direct fund to help municipalities build more homes faster, to cut down on red tape and give them the funding that they need to help improve housing, which is going to make housing more affordable, which I might add is something that leader of the Conservatives, Pierre Poilievre, has said he would cut. So, people always ask this, how would you work with municipalities, province? I think you should. I think it's not just what government should do, it's the expectation from people. And I'm very proud of the work that we had done previously in the office of working with municipalities, MLAs as well. And that's what I've continued to do in my role at TransLink, is I think that governments working together, that's how we make our community stronger, because all of us have something to contribute, whether it's a different funding or way we deal with infrastructure.
What would you like to say to the voters in Cloverdale, Langley City? I mean, because we could be talking about all these issues nationally and what the government is going to do, what the leader is going to do, what the promises are. But at the end of the day, you wanting to represent that particular riding is the area where you want the voters to vote for you, right? So what's your message to the Cloverdale, Langley City riding voters that come April 28th? Why should they vote for Kyle Latchford?
I think you should vote, period. Why I am going to be the best representative for you in Cloverdale, Langley City is I like to directly engage with my community. I've done that, whether when I was in retail and business, I've always had front-facing roles with the community. And that, to me, is one of the most important things. It's not about telling people just what your platform is. It's listening to what they actually care about. That's why I can tell you where the issues have changed of what people care about, whether it's this year, last year, or 6 years ago, is you have to listen. It's not just about talking. Building our community is what we need to do. I have 3 young daughters. We are at a critical time. And I know everybody likes to say that every election is critical, but I think that, make no mistake, this is the most critical election of my lifetime, frankly. I'm a leader, whether that was when I was in the office for John Aldag or being a senior advisor for TransLink on the Bus Rapid Transit project. My goal is to try and get big things done directly for my community. I'm not worrying about what people are doing elsewhere. That's why I'm focused on and went to another job where I was dealing with projects directly in the community, whether it was building Bus Rapid Transit, Langley to Maple Ridge. That was my focus and why I wanted to do that. And that's why I'm the best representative.
Well, good luck for your campaign. And thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. All the best.
Thank you, Vijay. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
You too. Thank you. Take care.